Hi Fad Campers, it's Grace here and I have some new stand updates I'd love to tell you about. If you're based in the UK, I will be doing some dates in July and August and I'd love to see some of you there. I'll be in Leeds doing a work in progress with Amy Annette on July 4th in the Hyde Park Book Club. I'll be in Brighton on July 6th with Alison Spittle in the Comedia Comedy Club, and I'm going to be doing my own work in progress show in Glasgow on July 12th at Good Egg Comedy. Also then, I will be at the Edinburgh Fringe, of course, for the entirety of August, from July 30th to August 24th. I'll be at the Assembly George's Square, the Crate, 10 to 3 every day. Would love if you could tell anyone you know who's going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe to come see my show. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
Hello, Fad Campers, it's Grace here. Now, before you go listen to the brand new episodes of Fad Camp, I just want to let you know that I am on tour in 2026. Yes, I'm going to be bringing my brand new stand-up show, Did You Hear We're All Going to Die, to Ireland and the UK, and I'd love to see some of you there. The tour kicks off in Ireland in February. I'm going to Drogheda, Limerick, Galway, Belfast and Cork. And in the UK, I'm going to be in Leicester, Bristol, Brighton, Edinburgh, Manchester and Leeds. You can get the link to all of those tickets on my Instagram or TikTok accounts, Grace Mulvey Comedy and Grace M Comedy. Thanks a million.
What's the best way to reduce? Eat plenty or starve yourself?
30 pounds in just 18 weeks. Jenny Craig totally worked.
I love to eat, but overeating made it impossible to lose weight.
My body wants bread, and I'm going to give my body what it wants.
Oh my God.
So I lost
Naturally.
Medical studies prove that overeating is the number one reason for weight gain. If you need to lose weight, use Slick and Natural Spring Away and bring your weight down without the use of the same time.
Welcome to Fad Camp, a podcast that throws a comedy eye over our societal obsession of diets. Now, a little disclaimer, we are not health experts, but we are fad diet connoisseurs. I'm your host, comedian Grace Mulvey.
And I'm your co-host, Conor Dowling.
Welcome to Fad Camp.
Hello and welcome back to Fad Camp. It's been a while. Conor, how are you getting on?
I'm getting on well, Grace. I'm excited to be here today.
Guys, we're recording from London and LA. I find this incredible.
Whoa. Very fancy.
Look at us.
But it feels like we're in the same room.
I know. And you know, we haven't spoken in ages. A little behind the scene drama. No,
Yeah.
I'm joking. We just literally haven't spoken in ages. And then we just got hopped on for this. And it's like I just have seen you yesterday. This is so weird.
I know. It's crazy. What's that all about?
Now, listen. Today, we're going to be talking about Joe Wicks, the body couch. Did you like that
Joe
impression?
bloody Wicks. I love that. I
I
haven't heard Joe Wicks talk in a while, so I'm like, yeah, that's legit.
That's him.
That's spot on.
This is my impression again, just to hit home. Joe Wicks, the body couch. I'm really sorry.
Introduce himself like that every time.
So I will say I watch a lot of this man's videos, and he does, and also like his online persona, definitely in the beginning, was a lot of this. Anyway, listen.
Yeah.
If you go and look him up, I think I gave maybe a 6 out of 10 of that performance, but
no, it's 10 out of 10 for me, Grace. 10 out of 10. We're starting hard. We're starting high. I just want to say, when you sent me a message to say we're going to do an episode on Joe Wicks, I was like, no shit, Joe Wicks. Are we getting into the dark side of Joe Wicks? Like, what's he been up to? You know, because I was like, he seems pretty kind of like, you know, wholesome and like harmless, but I was like, oh, I bet he's been up to some shit. I bet Joe Wicks has been up to some shit.
So you know what, I'm going to start this off by saying I actually really like Joe Wicks. Right? But yes, I'm going to say that there's been some rumblings. There's been some going down the
empire is going to fall.
Yes, you know when someone's just slightly going down the dark side, going towards the Sith, and we're like, no, come back to the Jedi now. Come back to the old Jedi.
Yeah.
For anyone, that's a Star Wars reference, and yes.
Whoa, Grace, I didn't realize you're such a Star Wars geek.
Listen, I had a mustache until I was 16, so yes, I'm into Star Wars. Now, let's get into it, okay? So if you don't know who Joe Wicks is, right? Joe Trevor Wicks, as his Wikipedia page calls him, also known as the Body Coach, is a British fitness coach, television presenter, social media personality and author. His fitness method basically uses the HIIT workout, so high intensity interval training. And essentially he started off his brand, like he really kicked off online, especially through like Instagram. He used to do these 15-second recipe videos on social media, and the way he would record them was it was just very easy to follow and kind of like very like the way he would talk and stuff. He's a really upbeat kind of guy. Now,
well, we heard your impression of him like at the beginning, so we know what
Joe Wicks by
exactly what he's
couch,
like.
yeah. And here's the thing, right? So his whole thing was called Lean In 15, and I remember this so distinctly because Conor, baby girl, I was all over this. I was over this at the time. Like I was into this stuff. So basically by posting these kind of like 15-second recipe videos and also posting HIIT workouts, he grew his brand to become one of the most followed fitness accounts on Instagram and YouTube. So currently on Instagram, he has 4.7 million followers. TikTok, he has 188,000. And on YouTube, 2.89 million followers. Okay. His first published cookbook, Lean In 15-minute meals, was a bestseller in 2015 and sold over 900,000 copies. He created a 90-day plan with workouts and meals with portions tailored to the individual. And he was awarded a Guinness World Record for most viewers for a fitness workout live stream on YouTube after achieving over 950,000 viewers on 24th of March 2020 for his second live stream. So 24th of March 2020. What was going on there, Conor?
I mean, who didn't do a Joe Wicks workout at home during the pandemic? Particularly in the first month. The first month of the pandemic.
I tell you something, this guy owned the first maybe 6 months of the pandemic. He owned the pandemic. Okay. I can't believe there's not a conspiracy theory out there that Joe Wicks started the pandemic, which I know, by the way, I don't is insane. But what I'm saying is just because of all the insane conspiracy theories that came out of COVID, I can't believe this isn't one of them.
I mean, if there isn't already a documentary about him, there's going to be a documentary where he's like, it was just this perfect confluence of things. I was doing my thing. I was uploading videos on the reg with minimal, success, like respectable success. And then suddenly the pandemic hit and everything changed overnight. It writes itself.
And the thing is, he was very successful before it, but the COVID did he became, I think, I would say in Britain, a national treasure. And the big thing that he did. Yeah, the big thing that he did was he did PE Fridays. And then he started doing them every day. But that was basically workouts for the kids. So obviously parents were at home with their children all the time, trying to do school and work, losing their minds. And so Joe Wicks came up with this brilliant thing where he would dress in costumes every day and do these little workouts that basically for parents would tire out their children for at least a half an hour. That's all he cared. Basically he was just getting the attention. And he's, by the way, the perfect almost presenter for children as well. That kind of upbeat attitude.
How does he sound again?
Sorry, Joe Wicks body couch. I can't believe I'm laughing this much at my own impression.
I just needed a refresher. It's so funny because there's part of me, ultimately I'm I'm sure he's mostly fine, but there is a little part of me being when does this take a sinister turn?
Okay. Well, okay, I'm going to go into some things first. So basically, Wicks attended.
This is not a Liver King. This is not a Liver King.
No, it's not a Liver King situation.
No.
And actually, when we first did the call earlier when we were just chatting, I did say this is one that kind of I think is a bit more nuanced. I don't think that Joe Wicks is actually doing anything. There's no one thing that he's doing that I'm well, this is the downfall. It's sort of this kind of slide into, I think, almost getting into this sort of goop or kind of fixation on food that I'm wasn't there before. And I'm wondering, and I have a theory about a few things, but let's just go into it first. So just to give you a bit about his background, he did study sports science at St. Mary's University in Twickenham. Now, I wanted to bring that up because a lot of the times when we talk about people who, are into who are these big fitness trainers, they, for the most part, a lot of them do not have any background in, any education in this area. With Joe Wicks, sports science, if you don't know, is the study of how the human body works during exercise. The subject is vast and multidisciplinary, and it draws upon areas such as autonomy, psychology, engineering, chemistry, and yes, does look at studying nutrition to rehabilitation. Okay. However, I did look this up and I wanted to make it very clear. If you studied sports science, it does not mean you are a dietitian. Those are two very different things.
Okay.
And the reason I'm, again, pointing this out kind of early on is because with Joe Wicks by Couch, sorry, that's the last one I did. We're falling into this trap where this guy obviously does know a lot about the human body, is sort of giving out advice that I think might be a bit above what he has previously studied. Okay. Now, as I said, at the beginning with Joe Wicks, what I kind of did love about him is he used Instagram as like a self-promotion tool, definitely in 2014. And this, by the way, would have been when I was watching him quite a bit. And, he put in his feed a conveyor belt of 16-second recipe videos, before and after, client photos, and pictures of him in his pants. As Joe Wicks himself said, I Snapchat in the bath. I Snapchat when I wake up, and I'm giving people inspiration. It's like a TV show. So as you can imagine, this is what really got him like kind of into people's kind of, like going through people's phones. Like it's such an interesting way of kind of becoming, particularly in 2014, 2015, when you are at the very beginning of Instagram. That's how he really shot to fame. And then with COVID, as you said, it was like this tipping point of when he suddenly became almost an icon. Now, as I mentioned before, he's done loads of different books. He's done, and I also will say this, in November 2020, he completed a 24-hour workout challenge, which raised over £2 million for children in need. Blue Peter awarded him a gold Blue Peter badge as a thank you on behalf of children in need. And also I will say he's done a lot of, he's a patron for a youth homeless charity called the Amber Foundation. And he particularly, like his mother was a social worker, so he kind of is quite aware of all of these issues that go on in Britain. He himself, by the way, had like a very poor background and used to live on food stamps. Okay. And I think all of this, again, the reason I'm giving you a bit of a background is, again, I actually really like Joe Wicks.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff I'm going to bring up. Yeah.
I just had a glance at his social media, like, and he seems lovely. Like, I definitely watched some of his videos, like during the pandemic, but it's been a while since I've checked him out. And like, even just at a glance, he seems just very like kind of approachable and nice and wholesome, and easy on the eye for the ladies.
Listen, it doesn't hurt. Says you, it doesn't hurt.
The mammies, a bit of eye candy for the mammies.
You know what? He definitely has a wholesome look about him that the mammies absolutely adore.
Oh. It's very non-threatening, but also kind of like sexy.
The man has puppy vibes, golden retriever puppy vibes. What I will say, right, so my background with Joe Wicks is that and still sometimes do, I really like his HIIT workouts, okay? They're very handy for the most part. You don't need that much equipment or anything like that. And like, he's very personable in them. And also what I really like about the videos, he's quite knackered in them. Like, as in, like, right. Sometimes you're watching these workout videos and it's almost like these are AI actors that are doing the workout. Oh, they don't break a sweat. Yeah. He is fairly fucked when he's doing them. Like, he's out of breath, he's sweating, right? I'm not going to lie to you, Conor. This is a very funny one. One of his very early videos, which, like, you can tell when, the money came into the business. He's, like, recording it out his back garden. He farts.
Wow.
And I'm not going to lie, it's the funniest thing when it just happens in a workout. And I'm like, that's hilarious that you kept that in. So, like, these are little things that I'm like, you're human. I did pay for his 90-day plan.
Oh, wow.
So this is a big thing, yes. So this is at the time.
Oh, wow.
At the time I was, I think I was back from, I did a good bit of traveling and I was back and I was quite, I was at one of my heaviest weights, and I was sort of like, this is post me, by the way, doing motivation and all these things, and I was trying to approach losing weight. The target was still losing weight in a different way, and I was like, right, well, I'm doing his videos anyway, so I might as well do this 90-day plan. And I was really broke at the time. I didn't have a job. So, like, I paid for I think I asked my mom and dad, I was like, hey, for my birthday and Christmas present, can it be this 90-day plan? And they were like, okay. I remember you had to send in a picture of you in a bra and pants.
No.
And you had to measure yourself. And that is sort of something now I look back on and go, no, I don't really like that.
What?
Now, again, I did
that?
okay with it. I did say yes to this. And I just remember looking at these videos, like I take not videos, but like pictures. Like I got my friend to take photos of me of like every angle, and like I'd send in my measurements and stuff. And the whole thing was
and we're putting these photos in the show show notes as well, just in case people want to.
Yeah, we're going to just do a little carousel on Instagram.
Just for a visual kind of reference for what we're talking about. They are available in the show notes.
Do you know what's the worst thing as well? Looking back, because like Google Photos every so often is like, hey, do you want this memory of a time that you were...
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually don't want that memory, thank you.
Yeah.
Why I didn't pick a better bra and pants? Like, when you're picking a bra and pants that you're like, so I actually would rather be caught dead than someone seeing me in this. And yet I sent a photo, and like you're sending these photos into a portal. And actually I was like,
oh my gosh.
I don't know who's looking at this. And I know, listen, this isn't like, just looking back, like stuff you do for sometimes with the fitness and health industry, there's a lot of trust that goes into it. By the way, from what I can tell, there's never been any issue with any photos ever being, you know what I mean? There's been like nothing like that. But like, I am like, God, this is like, when I think back to it, a lot of people like don't mind almost like seeing this before photo as long as they know there'll be an after. Do you know what I mean? Like, bitch, there was no after with me. But anyway, but like, the whole thing about the 90-day program, it kind of was like a lot of 90-day programs, which was a lot of meal prepping. I do remember my Sundays, Conor. Oh my fucking God. It was like, I'd say 3 hours to 4 hours of cooking. It was
like a commercial
my Sundays,
kitchen
it became like, it became totally joyless because it was like just making loads of like mince and like the dishes were fine. Like they were nice. Again, they were nutritional. There's nothing wrong with them. But like, fairly standard, boring food, if I'm honest. Like it wasn't anything that I'd be like, that maybe once or twice I'd like some of the meals. That was fine. But again, they were like fresh made. Like it wasn't like he was selling you like, here's some packets of dust. It was proper. But it was a lot of meal prepping. And I do remember I'd actually hate Sundays because I was like, oh my God, I have to spend the next 3 hours prepping. And one other thing
what
I did.
What sort of meals were they? Were they like the ones that he kind of did the recipes for on Instagram or the cookbook, or were they just like
so
very
they were
generic
slightly different because again they did say that they tailored it to you because so like say like I for me it'd be like my height and weight they take into account and my gender. Again, my issue is I'm sure a nutritionist or maybe a dietitian created this diet plan he's working with. But again, that's very like, I know it says it's tailored to you, but like, let's be honest, it's a few stats of your height and weight.
Yeah.
And your gender. Like that's pretty much as tailored as most of these things get, I think.
You're probably in a group, you're probably in
a
group and, there's probably like 4 groups,
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, listen, this is all us guessing. Maybe it was incredibly tailored, totally. Like who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
But in terms of knowing how most businesses work, you can make a fair assumption on how these things are done. But a lot of it was like a lot of protein, like tons of protein, very little carbs. Like I do remember not a lot of carbs. And almost like the amount of protein. Like at one time I remember eating the amount of mince I was eating. I was like, Jesus. And it was just kind of to me, kind of joyless. Like but I did lose some weight at the time, but like, I don't remember being that much. One thing I will say, and I'm such a stickler for this, because I was so broke at the time, they didn't tell me that I would need like weights. Like basically at some point you start introducing weights and so you'd need to go to a gym. And I remember making that complaint to them. I was like, you did not say that to me. Because like, I'm sorry, but like at the time I just didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to be going and buying weights, whatever. There wasn't really like, I don't know if there was any kind of, now you could maybe buy some weights secondhand off Facebook Marketplace. I don't remember that being a thing in 2000 and like maybe you're talking 15, 16. So I just remember that. And again, these are nitpicky things, right? But that was my experience on it. It wasn't like cheap, but it wasn't the most expensive thing either, okay? Now, the reason why Joe Wicks, I think, has had some controversies in the last maybe few years, I would say, is they're small things, but you can sort of see this weird sliding scale. Now, one is, basically, I'm reading this from a Grazia article, but basically Joe Wicks, it says body coach Joe Wicks under fire for gross post about his wife's postpartum body. So here's the thing, right? I know.
Sorry, I just like, there's always something. Mr. Squeaky Clean Wicks, we got you. We're coming for you.
I know. And it feels so bad because in light of the way, some things are going. So basically, he came under fire after a post about his wife Rosie's postpartum body and her training regime 6 months after she gave birth to her third child, Linny. Okay, so here's a bit of the post. And I'm just going to read it out and see what you think. And I think, a nice post, but you can kind of see where some of the issues are.
Okay.
He says, so proud of Rosie. I think she looks absolutely phenomenal. She exercised all the way through her pregnancy with Linny and really stepped up her training in the last 6 months to rebuild her strength. There is no doubt genetics has an impact and plays a role, but I've seen her work so hard to rebuild her strength and fitness. She's lifting heavier weights than ever and is in the best physical and mental shape for life. What's more impressive is Lenny has never slept through the night and since 4 months old continues to wake multiple times through the night. She still makes the commitment to a healthy and active lifestyle. And when she does train, she really pushes herself and I admire her for that. She hates cardio and currently lifts weights 3 times a week for around 45 minutes. If you want to try some strength workouts, download the Body Coach app and give the Strength Week challenge a try. And then there's a photo of Rosie. I think there was a little video of her doing all these workouts. Now, Conor, what would be your kind of reaction to that, I suppose?
I mean, if you're immersed in that world, like already, like if your life is the Body Coach, cookbooks, personal training, all of that sort of stuff, I think it's pretty harmless in your world. But I think it's not taking into account, how many postpartum like women will see that and feel like, oh, I'm, whose daily life is not personal trainers and all that sort of stuff. They're just like living a normal life. I think it'd make people feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough on top of, being a mom for the first time, whatever, and trying to grapple with my body changing and all of that. You're telling me I should be doing this amount of workouts a week. That's kind of the sort of the two sides of it. I think I kind of that's my take on it.
I think you're coming at it so much nicer than I'm about to go at it.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So, first of all, the whole thing about 6 months postpartum. They think that women are pretty much postpartum until a year, right?
Okay.
Having a child is childbirth obviously has varying degrees of what it can do to a person's body. It is like having major surgery and then saying, doesn't she look great after having major surgery 6 months ago, even though sure she hasn't slept through the night and actually she's also taking care of a human being.
Yeah.
My big thing is obviously this is her third child. We don't know if these people are quite wealthy. We don't know if they have help.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, as he said, genetics plays a part. Yeah, grand, genetics plays a part. Mm-hmm. If she decides to do this, great. But actually, even saying that your child hasn't slept through the night and she does a 45-minute workout 3 times a week to build up her strength 6 months after what I would consider probably one of the most strenuous things her body's ever going to go through. And what might really piss me off, if I'm honest, was that he was selling his thing. He was basically like, go check out the Body Coach app.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, no. Don't fucking link those two things. And also I would love to know, absolutely love to know how much experience and if anything, if you studied anything about the way women or people, let's be honest, because there's obviously transgender men as well can also give birth. But how many people, have you talked to any doctor about what exactly any person should be going through 6 months after having a baby, particularly their third child? And I know this sounds, but to me, it's after seeing, my sister has a 7-month-old now. So many of my friends are having babies for the first time, the second time. I actually feel like going, fuck you, man. Fuck off. Because I know you know what it's like to have kids, but you know what it's like to have kids with money. And and also I don't know Rosie's profession, but obviously this is your profession. This might be a family business now. No. Why don't you get I'd love if you've got even like a gynecologist or like a midwife or someone to come on and be like, yeah, so like that's great for Rosie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't, if you want to have if you want to engage in postpartum workouts, hire a fucking, like, I don't know, doctor or midwife to come on and do tailored plans. But do not be like, look at what my wife is doing and then just sell it on your app. Like, it really bothers me because, like, fair play to Rosie for wanting to do it, but like, I don't know her life. But I know the life of a lot of women, a lot of people. And this is not, like 45 minutes a week, 3 times a week, right? For most people, actually, like in everyday life, can be pretty unachievable. And by the way, they mightn't have access to like really good gyms. And at what times do they have access to these gyms? When their kids are going down for naps, when they might have to clean the house because they mightn't have a cleaner. You know, and by the way, they might have only 6 months of actually maternity leave. Some people have less. You know what I mean? Like, I just, sorry, I know I'm gone on such a rant here. I think it just, it really got to me because I think very different if it was even Rosie herself being like, hey, listen, I'm really proud of myself. I know not everyone can do this, but look, I've really done this. Fair fucking play to you. But to be like, hey, this is my wife. Look what she's done. Here's my app. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well,
oh my God.
I think I agree with everything you're saying. And I honestly think, like, you know, the way I was looking at it kind of from both sides of it, I think you're being very fair. No. It just really triggered a reaction in me. Absolutely. And as I'm sure many women who saw that post and anyone who saw that post, but like particularly, you know, people who've given birth and are pregnant and are kind of going like, fuck, I can barely get through the day, let alone think about doing a fucking bodybuilding routine on top of all of that.
Particularly with like your third kid. Like, it's like some people would be like, oh my God, like I haven't been able to, I don't know, brush my fucking hair.
Yeah.
And it's just, I know, and I'm not putting this all on him. Like, I understand. This is the thing about, though, when you have a business that needs, like, we live in capitalism.
Well, look.
His business needs to keep growing. And I'm like, oh, right, yeah. So this sort of stuff is going to start coming up now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Well, look, I mean, the thing is, I think part of me is getting a little bit like kind of cynical or jaded because I'm like, as soon as I hear like, oh, this is an ad for your app, you know, it's like, of course it is, because everything that comes from this person is an attempt to sell you something, whether they have the best intentions or not. But ultimately, it's in a lot of ways, it's like what we learned from the Liver King, like just this content machine designed to sell you, whether it's supplements or workouts or a lifestyle change. Like, that's what this person is doing. And I think there's probably some level of like, you know, like expectation put on him because he is such like a wholesome character, but like behind his lovely, smiley, approachable, you know, sexy in a non-threatening kind of way face, there's a machine. There's a machine behind that that is designed to, you know, like there's a team of people looking at his audience and going, your audience is like 70% women. You know, half of those women are either, you know, mothers or going to mothers, etc. You know, they have it all kind of worked out. And they're like, you know what would really hit your algorithm really nicely is some pregnancy content and the fact that you are going, you know, you're sharing sort of your life with people a little bit. Like, I'm sure he has kids, obviously. Like, so I'm sure he like involves his kids in some of the stuff as well. And, you know, it's like yeah, he's like using his family as like kind of props for this. But like I guess the point is that like, or what's okay is that like they are, I'm sure they are consenting adults. Like I'm hoping it's all, you know.
I highly doubt he'd put that up without his wife's consent. Like, don't get me wrong.
I'm not saying you're saying that, but I guess it's kind of like, I assume that what he's saying is truthful, that that's their reality, you know, that they're like fitness people, we're in the fitness world, and, you know, massive things like, you know, I don't know, pregnancy aren't going to get in the way of our like, you know, fitness regime or whatever. It's and not to mention, like you said, we have this fucking, you know, we're rich basically because, you know, we've been doing this thing. We've been selling fat people our products. So it's easy for them to kind of say it and not really think about like how it's going to affect the people actually watching it, you know? So yeah, like I'm kind of like mixed on it in the sense that I'm like, yeah, it could be a lot worse, but also I see the sensitivity to it. And funnily enough that you mentioned, I had a memory from my own experience years ago. You know, I've worked as like a videographer for many years now, making videos for all sorts of different clients. It's very much been like, show up with your camera, film this thing, and edit it together. And, you know, so it could be anything, not anything, but, you know, a lot of different things over the years. And one time I was called to a gym by a friend who was working at a gym, and they had a specific training program for pregnant and postpartum mothers. And the trainer was a midwife. She was a midwife and a personal trainer. And I took footage. And to me, this was like mind blowing. And these women, like, they had their babies in the gym with them and stuff, you know, like, but basically, like I have footage of like a woman who's like 8 months pregnant doing like those, like, you know, those like squat deadlift things and like intense like weight training. Some of it wasn't like extreme weight training. Some of it looked very like gentle, but ultimately the idea being like, you know, like maintaining some level of strength or whatever.
No, because a lot of people, like, if you're already and I know doctors say this to pregnant people, if you are already in a sort of exercise regime, as in like if you're already a runner, keep running. If you already do weights, keep doing weights. But like the weights you're going to be doing, like, let's be honest, you're not going to be doing crunches anymore. But like, you know, you're going to be changing them. So I've no problem with that. You know, and I'm so happy that that's a midwife. And that's what I mean though about like, I have a real issue with kind of, I think particularly when people become famous as well, there's something about them sort of starting to believe. It's like they're drinking the Kool-Aid, that they do know things that actually they don't. And like, the thing is, I'm sorry for saying fuck you. Okay?
I'm not.
I got heated in the moment.
I'll say it.
But I also do think, like, because you're being so fair, because I do think, yeah, there is a machine behind them and all this sort of stuff. That's what I'm saying, though. Capitalism does lead to this.
Yeah.
And this is when we start to see people start coming out with really outrageous stuff that you're like, oh, man, at the beginning, you weren't like this.
Yeah.
And now you kind of are, because it's like you sort of have to keep up with the Joneses and you have to keep yourself in the media. So here's something else, right? That now this is a small thing, and you know, anyway, this is where Joe Wicks got into a bit of trouble speaking on BBC Radio 5, the Headliners podcast, when he essentially kind of linked the surge in children ADHD diagnoses with poor diets and ultra processed foods.
Wow.
Right. On the podcast, Joe said that he believes if he were a child in 2024, he would have been diagnosed with ADHD, and he believes his poor behaviour at school was directly linked to his diet at home. He said, looking back now, there's no doubt the food I was eating was directly linked to my behaviour. I was never diagnosed with ADHD, but I think nowadays it's this common thing that every child seems to be being diagnosed. And I think a lot of it can stem back to diet and foods that we're eating. He elaborated that his diet as a child was cereal for breakfast, concentrated juice from the milkman, Sunny Delight, wagon wheels, sandwiches with just jam, Nutella, very little nutrients, pure sugar. He said the thing about them, and he's talking about ultra processed foods, is that we can eat so much so fast and they become so palatable. We know these foods just taste amazing and we can consume so much of it. And then we're taught this is what kids eat. Kids need these snacks in their lunch boxes. This is what they have for dinner. And so we're kind of being confused and led down this path that adults have adult food and kids have kids menus and kids food. He also believes that people are cooking less than ever and relying on processed foods, and that kids are getting the energy sucked out of them. Now, in response to this, ADHD UK, a leading ADHD charity, released a statement saying, it is really disappointing to hear Joe Wicks linking a processed food diet to having ADHD. Yeah. Joe is a force for so much good, but on this he is objectively wrong. His core point that a good diet can help people in so many ways is absolutely correct. But a diet, good, bad, or ugly, won't make you have ADHD or make you not have ADHD. To suggest for ADHD that swapping sweets or burgers for a plate of veggies is all we need to fix someone with ADHD is both wrong and damaging. It's misleading and undermines the very real difficulty of living with a lifelong condition of ADHD. According to ADHD UK, there is no cause of ADHD. It is considered a result of often complex interplay between genetic and environmental factors, with genetic factors being responsible for 70 to 80% of the probability. Now, obviously, Joe Wicks had a response to it, but before even that, I think what got me about what he said when I read it again, I was like, first of all, for a guy who studied sports science, there is not one fucking fact in what he
Anecdotal
said. Not
AF.
one science to back it up. Like, my big thing that he said is, first of all, he said, I think that if I was a kid now, I'd be diagnosed with ADHD. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even then, he's like, so you weren't diagnosed with ADHD when you were a kid and quite, like, whatever. He must have been, for what he thinks, he might have been maybe a kid that, like, was responding to too much sugar.
Yeah.
And then he said, it seems like loads of kids are being, like, basically what he said was, it seems like loads of kids are being diagnosed with ADHD. Again, not a fact in there.
He's not drawing.
And for a guy who's, he's not drawing on anything other than what he is like, basically like a, what's the word?
Anecdotal.
It's just another word for his opinion, but kind of like his own experiences where he's like, but even not his own experiences, because he wasn't even diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
So I'm like, actually, what you're doing is talking out your arsehole.
Yeah.
Going, I think now I would have been diagnosed with ADHD the way they're doing it now. Like, mate, you have 4.7 million followers. Get a fact.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know. I definitely now this one I find. I'm like I can't relate to the pregnant ladies, but this as an ADHD boy, I can relate to this. No, I think that one in particular, like you said, like he's not drawing on some specific correlation between 70% of kids with ADHD have a high processed food diet. Like he's not sharing any like new research or anything like that it would kind of illustrate his point. It's just pure anecdotal, personal kind of experience. But I think and I'm not an expert, but I would say that it's probably he has it backwards. It's that like people with ADHD a common fun little acronym swap for ADHD is a desperate hunt for dopamine. So it's like you're constantly like seeking dopamine, pleasure. So that's what so it becomes hard to like be bored and stay focused. You're like looking for external stimuli, and that can come in the form of lots of different things that people use. But food is a big one because it triggers that dopamine. It gives you those hits. It's like a little drug. So he's got it backwards. Like he's full, and he of all people should have a little bit more authority in research, especially since, like you said, he has workouts that are specifically for kids, for families. He's like a kids TV presenter in a lot of ways. So it's quite irresponsible.
That's a really good point you're making. Like he would know that actually, I'm sure, well, maybe he doesn't, but I'm sure when he was doing those videos, would have gotten a bit of like research into how to keep kids focused on the, you know what I mean? Like, so he's not like completely ill-equipped for this. Like, it did really get me, this one as well, because the other one got me too. But this one, it's more like, and this is where, when you're talking to people and they'll go, even if you're talking about their politics, and you might say, why are you voting for this person? Oh, I like him. Or I heard he was nice to this person.
Yeah.
That's essentially what he's doing here. He's going, I have this opinion because not out of anything factual now. And sure, listen, a lot of people come to me for health stuff, but not out of anything factual. But here's just an opinion I have based on, let's be honest, absolutely nothing. And you're right about the other way round. And also it's this, what he's doing is really categorizing ADHD as not a real thing. Even if he doesn't think that, it's giving it that sort of vibe of like, they're all being diagnosed.
Yeah, it
And
is.
like,
It is. It's very boomer-like. It's very just like, oh,
It's
sure, they're
very
all being
boomer-like.
diagnosed. In my day, there was no kids. It's like, yeah, that's because no one is, they didn't know how to diagnose people.
Yeah.
you know?
But like, it's like, it is that thing. And because like, and so many adults you see now getting diagnosed with ADHD being like, oh, thank God, because for such a long time, like, I have not been able to figure this out. And what really gets me, actually, now that I'm thinking about it a bit more, is like when he's talking about kids, you know, not being able to pay attention or to this is how he's categorizing ADHD, being, you know, not being able to like focus and shoot. You know what else isn't helping with focus? Social media,
Hell yeah,
which is where you
Joe.
built your fucking brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your business comes from social media, which actually is about that dopamine hit consistently you're getting from social media, which I know I definitely am in some way addicted to. But like, it's just this weird thing where it's like, I don't know. But this was his response anyway, okay? And we'll move on because then we do have one other thing we have to talk about here.
What's he done now?
He came back in response to the ADHD UK. He came back and said, I had a conversation on a podcast, really nice, about children's mental health around food, nutrition, you know, all the things I'm passionate about. And the headline that basically came out of it was, Joe Wicks says ADHD is caused by poor diet. Now, I know that's not factual. That isn't true. And I believe that. I have never, and I never would say that. It's a neurodivergent disorder which affects the brain. Lots of factors involved. I do believe food has a massive impact. Whether you have ADHD or not, I think it really impacts our mood and our ability to sit still and focus. And even our energy and our mental health, it has a massive impact. He said as well, in hindsight, listening back to it a couple of times, I do wish I had said misdiagnosed, because the article says obviously I said many children are being diagnosed with ADHD and it can stem back to their diet. What I mean is that many children are being misdiagnosed. So, you know, I do think that we need to look at our diet, and I'm passionate about that. I always promote healthy home cooked food for ourselves and our children, but I'm really sorry that's been taken out of context. When I do share things about weaning around food, anything I'm sharing is to try and inspire and uplift and make them feel good. It's never to put people down. Okay, so he goes on with a bit more.
Grace, did you hear Joe Wicks was recently diagnosed with backpedaling? He's got a case of walking
Conor,
it back.
beautiful, baby. Do you know what? It's the misdiagnosed thing. I'm like, nah, man, you're not saying like that. What you're saying is kind of the same thing. Like, there's absolutely no way.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode. If you want to hear more bonus exclusive content for Fad Camp, make sure to log on to Head Stuff Plus, and for as little as $5 a month, you can support our show and other shows in the Head Stuff Podcast Network and hear exclusive content from Fad Camp. That's bonus episodes, photos, videos. It's a really good time, so we hope to see you there. Now, back to the show.
There's two things I want to mention real quick. Is first of all, I think, yes, there probably is some sort of, you know, correlation, or like, you know, certain types of foods. Like, yeah, like you don't want your kid drinking Red Bull and Skittles all day. They'll be bouncing off the walls, right? But I do think that the impact of, like, you know, veggies and a healthy diet is probably just like overstated. You know, like if it was that easy, then we wouldn't have so many people needing, you know, therapies and medications, etc., and struggling with difficulties. If it was as easy as just, you know, get that carbs off your plate or whatever the fuck he's telling us to do. I think the other thing is what you touched on with the pregnancy aspect, the postpartum aspect. It's like, these people, whether they're a self-help guru or a fitness influencer, after a while, because this thing that they have discovered has helped their life, helped the lives of people that they know and clients, and it has also gotten them rich. They then believe that, oh, this is the panacea for all problems. If only everyone did my thing that I figured out, that got me rich, that got me fit, and that got my friends and family and clients fit, it'll actually help everyone for everything. Depression, you know, neurodivergence, like, health, or they're like allergies, health aims, you name it. Like we'll just like start. That's what people start to do when they get like super successful. We'll call it the goop effect. It's you see it in self-help all the time. It's like, oh, I discovered that getting up at 5 a.m. is like the best thing in the world. So now everyone has to get up at 5 a.m., right? Because if everyone doesn't get up at 5 a.m., then I'm a freak and a fraud and I don't know what to do. Buy my book, so like, it's very kind of common. And it's like, then they go on their podcasts and their talk shows and they're like, hey, did you know that like my fitness program can cure all that ails you? And it's like, ooh, you're going too far, man.
Yeah, and what's interesting that you even say that, right? Because there was an article I came across, and it's from The Guardian. Now, this is back in 2016, okay? And basically this journalist was meeting with Joe Wicks, and I just wanted to read this particular section and see what you think. The journalist goes on to say, once I finish talking to Wicks, I wander over to some of his support heroes, the customer service employers who spend their days replying to emails from clients. It's a slick operation that covers every stage from sign up to a £20 a month aftercare. I approach one man and ask if he ever gets any complaints. He admits it happens, but we can usually find a paper trail of reasons for their failure. Most of the time we look back and go, well, you did tell us you went on a holiday for a fortnight, or you told me you were still going out every night. Really? People admit that? And he goes, yes, they're very open. They tell you all sorts.
Oh my God.
So I found that so interesting, and I love that you reacted like that, because I read it and I was like, cool. Fucking hell. What's so interesting is, like, again, this whole thing of, well, it couldn't possibly be us. Yeah. It couldn't possibly be this program. It's the clients. Mm-hmm. And, like, by the way, a 2-week holiday undoing what apparently is a lifestyle. Like, this is where I get the whole thing of, like, drinking the Kool-Aid, believing that you actually know a lot because something has worked for you. And then even that the customer service would essentially be like, no, you're wrong. Yeah. to a person who's bought the product and being like, no, it's you, not the product. When actually, if it wasn't the diet industry, what do we do with any product that malfunctions? We go, there's an issue with the product, and the customer service has to go, okay, send it back to us, blah, blah. Not with dieting. Dieting is always the person, right? And then weight loss jabs have come around, and all the diet industries have been like, oh yeah, no, you needed that though. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's like, are you telling us your product is not holiday proof? Your product is not 2-week holiday proof. And also the fact that he's like, well, usually there's a paper trail. It's like, so they're trying to catch you out on all sorts of, it's like, well, we can see that you didn't log your weight on day 37. Did you not realize that, like, people who log their weight every single day are 99% more, likely to be successful? They could just hit you with any old crap. And also these customer service.
Imagine they were like, we're going to release the photos you sent.
Well, I was going to say. Oh God. you said the line there that, these customer service people, they spend their days replying to emails. And I was going to add, and looking at semi-nude photos of Grace Mulvey. So,
Someone got a nice pic of me in what is a bra that I should have thrown out years before that photo was taken.
Next time you sign up for one of these things and you're taking a photo, just have a little sign on your phone, like hold a sign that says, I'm single.
What I'm looking for in a man.
Call me.
Call me. If you like a woman who doesn't buy much lingerie, call me. Okay.
I have an issue with sugar. I'll put my hands up and I will say I'm addicted to it. I'm honest about it, I'm open about it, and I share my struggles. I cannot eat it in moderation. When I have the tiniest bit, my head's gone and that's it. And I binge and I want loads of it and I can't stop. I've had it since a child and it's still in me today. Truth is, it tastes amazing and I love it, and it's everywhere. You can't avoid it. It feels really hard. It's in everything all the time. And I've tried all the strategies that people are sending messages about. Things like brush your teeth, focus on fruit and yogurt and dried fruits. Do you know what happens? The same thing. I just go gangbusters on it. So I honestly believe the only strategy for me that I haven't truly tried that I need to give a go is complete abstinence. Like with alcohol, with drugs, with smoking, you can't just have that cheeky little puff because you end up doing a whole packet. So my aim, starting tomorrow, Saturday morning, is a 7-day detox, whatever you want to call it, or just a 7-day circuit breaker to see how I feel. Can I do it? I'll be honest with you, last time I tried this, I did a 2-week one and it lasted 3 hours. If you struggle with this and you want some accountability, want to join me in this little challenge, which will be harder than anything physical I do, because this is a mental thing and it's every day. You know, it's every day because you can't avoid food, and you know, I do love me sugar, and when I'm stressed I eat a lot of it. And it's abundant and it's everywhere. It hunts you down, doesn't it? So if you want to join me, start tomorrow morning. And I mean no refined sugars, no chocolate, ice cream, fizzy drinks. But I'm also going to have a week without fruit, because I really struggle with the fruit. I eat so much fruit. You can't believe how much fruit I eat.
Okay, so yeah, you can see what he says there is basically he's giving up fruit, sugar, any sugar of any kind for an entire week.
He's
okay.
addicted.
And what was your
Grace?
He did
Should we
say
be worried?
addicted.
He has an addiction to sugar.
Addiction to sugar. And what's funny is then he did liken it to drugs, smoking, and alcohol, which I'm going to go back to that in a minute, because I have some interesting research that I did to kind of basically call him out on that being utter bullshit. It's the fruit that I really was like, are you kidding me? He's like, I just eat so much fruit. You wouldn't believe the amount of fruit I eat. Like,
well, he said he goes gangbusters on dried fruit and yogurt.
You know, when you're like the thought of
he's out of control.
The thought of someone walking in on him, just hoofing bananas, hoofing apples. Like he's not even. God. He's like duck swallowing apples. Like he's not even chewing.
Joe, you've got so much to live for. Don't throw it all away with that fruit basket.
I think that like it's. I think what I found quite sad about that is like from where he started as a person who again is a fan of Joe Wicks. Yeah. This guy used to be like lean in 15, try and just get like the veg in. Here's some nice easy recipes. Things were cheap enough. And then he'd be like, oh, having a donut now. Like it was all very balanced stuff.
Yes.
And now this
sensible.
is like a week. Sensible, a week. And like, listen, I have a quote here from a kind of nutritionist, Dr. Sarah Cook, who is a specialist in disordered eating, and she said banning sugar from the house is fueling your restrict and binge cycling. You may have lived experience, but this doesn't make you an expert in how to manage it. And that's actually a really interesting thing as well. Is like, I suppose this is sort of coming in on the fact that like if you're saying you're addicted to something, if you're saying I'm actually addicted to this, it probably is a deeper problem than you just going, I'm just going to not eat it for 7 days. And you have a lot of influence in this world. Like, you're a guy who, again, like this guy, he studied some for it. Like, he has a degree. He's not like, if you work in this industry.
I want to see those degrees. I'm sorry.
It's just still an accredited university.
Yeah, my patience is growing thin with Mr. Wicks and his credentials. I've changed. Well, Grace, I just feel like I just don't believe him. Like I just think I like him. I just feel that this is like, what's more content? What's another kind of plan that we can get our followers on board with? Oh, I know, sugar. Like he's not exactly reinventing the wheel with this thing. I feel like, you know, YouTube has been lousy with, I quit sugar for 30 days and see how it changed my body and all of that sort of stuff. Like it's been lousy with that sort of stuff for like the past 10 years. So for him in May of the past year to be like, I know, sugar, it just feels kind of like he's sort of running out of ideas a little bit. That's kind of my take when I see that.
But listen, and like, here's the thing, you know, you look at the comments. When I last looked at that, there was something like 2,500 comments underneath that reel. So that reel did very, very well.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you know,
yeah, because
I'm not saying,
he's playing the hits, you know?
Yeah. This is like, the internet isn't a place for, you know, just sort of being like, just try and be a bit healthy. You know what I mean? It's very hard to get the probably views on that. Now, that is saying that like I can think that, what's interesting to me is like also, what is your version of addicted to something? Like, you know what I mean? I would love to know, like, because there are people who are in Overeaters Anonymous who have binge eating disorders. And to them, what is overeating or binge eating is very different from maybe someone who's like this guy who, let's be honest, like he exercises a lot. I'm like, maybe are you getting enough to eat? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, are you really stressed? Like, there could be a lot going on here. But instead, it's just you doing this video straight to camera, and it's like 7 days and no fruit. I mean,
no
okay,
fruit.
so
That's a bit extreme now. That's a bit extreme.
No fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Here's the thing, right? So there was another, by the way, registered nutritionist who said demonizing fruit is even worse, Joe. This is a perfect example of restrict and binge eating. Cycling. And another eating disorder dietitian, Priya Chu, said spreading this message on such a large platform is really dangerous. Abstaining from all sugar is impossible for most people and can lead to disordered eating. So, Conor, when someone comes out with hey, I'm going to do a 7-day ban and blah, 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 do you think it stops there?
I mean, something tells me it's not going to stop.
You can't stop this man. He's addicted to sugar, and he won't stop until sugar is eliminated from this world.
He's just testing the waters here.
Right, so little update on my sort of sugar-free lifestyle, if you like. Got a confession to make. I've had a relapse, and I thought I was invincible, to be honest, at one point. I was about 11 weeks in. Really cut out, really was feeling good, was getting leaner, feeling amazing. Anyway, look, here's what it is. And of all places to have a slip up, it was last Tuesday at Gladiators when I was filming the celebrity special of Gladiators, where I basically walked into the sort of green room and there was a table full of sweets and sugar and chocolate, penguins, Kit Kats, crisps. There was Jaffa cakes, there was like breakfast bars, energy gels. It was just a table full of sugar. And I had a bit of fruit to begin with that I cracked. And guess what it was that done me? It was a packet of Jaffa cakes, which I haven't eaten for years. I smashed a whole packet of Jaffa cakes.
Wait, so hang on. I'm just feel like I'm seeing some kind of mixed messaging here, right? So we'll get to like the actual, like what he did now in a second. But so if you read the caption on this video, first of all, it's an emoji of a chocolate, a sweet, a lollipop, and a cupcake. That's how he opens the post, right? I love it. You gotta love it, right? Then he says, little update, I've relapsed on the sugar big time this week. And then like hands up in the air. Is that like, you caught me red-handed, like that emoji? But then, Grace.
No, it feels like he's waiting for like the Daily Mail to do this expose on him, and he's like, I'm going to come out first and say,
yeah, like put me in handcuffs.
They saw me eating a Jaffa cake, and I'm not going down for this.
I can't hide from it. Okay, but then, okay, Mr. Body Coach, Mr. like the nation is taking their advice from him. He goes, can you relate to any of this at all? What strategies or advice can you share with me? Smiley face. It's like, wait, what? Like, I thought you were leading us. I thought we were following your lead, bro.
But and you know what as well, because that's just such a common tactic to get people to, you know, again, engage. And so then your post goes viral and it's the whole thing. So just to explain for everyone, like, as you can hear here, he... obviously 1 week of no sugar wasn't enough, not for our Joe. He then moved on. He must have done some sort of other challenge, but he was 11 weeks off fruit or off sugar completely. And as he said, I relapsed. He used so much terminology linking to addiction.
Yes.
And even the fact that you can say relapse, like let's be honest here. Anyone who has an addiction to drugs, alcohol, even like, I don't know, smoking. Do you hear the word relapse? Relapse is a fairly intense
it's loaded
word to be then like, pop a little comment on how you've dealt with your relapse. Like, could you imagine a drug addict doing that? Or like, you know what I mean? Someone being like, hey, listen, my life has fallen apart again because of my addiction. Could you put a little comment underneath so you can engage with my video? But it also is that thing where it's like this weird thing where he's trying to stay lighthearted. But at the same time, you're like, what you are doing here. First of all, he actually explains why he ended up eating all that food. In it, he's like, I was actually a bit run down. I had a cold. I was traveling a lot. I was a bit stressed. And I'm like, yeah, so all of the stuff that actually our body then wants a bit of comfort and craves a bit of sugar to keep us going, because obviously you have quite a like maybe performative job. Like he must have been on TV and like, you know, it's a lot of energy. And it's like this whole, we all turn to comfy foods and that's how easy you can slip. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Slip.
I
like,
know.
Again, no one's turning to the needle. No one's turning to like, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, people, and like there's people out there who like are dealing with like binge eating addictions, like not addictions, but like, sorry, binge eating disorders and like, and these things where like, you know, for them, they're sitting at home and they're like, okay, I'm just going to try and eat, I don't know, 1 pizza instead of 3. Like that's real concerns that people are like trying to battle with. And he's just like, I had a whole sleeve of Jaffa cakes. I'm like, fuck, like a whole sleeve of Jaffa cakes. Come at me with your whole sleeve of Jaffa cakes.
I'm sorry.
Like Jaffa cakes know what they're doing. By the way, I don't buy, like biscuits are made to be eaten in copious amounts as far as I'm concerned. Okay. And I just think that like, and also I just want to say, make this very clear, okay? So because I then looked it up, is sugar addictive? And essentially there is no evidence to show that sugar is addictive, okay? Now here's from the British Heart Foundation, all right? So people who know better than me. Many of the foods and drinks that people regularly consume are high in sugar. While eating a little bit of sugar is fine on average, we are eating more than is recommended, so it's something that we need to be aware of. We naturally like the taste of sweet foods, and it is therefore easy for the occasional sweet or sugary drink to become part of our daily routine without us noticing. We often use sweets, cakes and sugary drinks as a reward or to pick us up if we are having a bad day. Because of this, we can start to feel reliant on sugary foods and drinks. Some people feel as though they've developed an addiction. In reality, while we might have developed hard-to-break habits, there is little evidence to suggest that sugar is addictive in the same way as tobacco, alcohol and other drugs. The theory that sugar is addictive is largely based on evidence from feeding studies conducted in animals. These findings cannot be directly applied to the same eating patterns as humans, which have much more complex eating habits than most animals. Like say if you tested it on a cow has 4 stomachs. I got 1. You know what I mean? But like there was one particular study that I think got a lot of people's attention, which was like this study on rats.
Yeah.
It was a highly publicized study in 2017 that suggested rats prefer sugar to cocaine. But it was really, like as many experts pointed out, one study doesn't make a consensus and scientists have divergent opinions about whether people or rodents can become dependent on sugar. One is basically like essentially the rats, like one kind of criticism was that like the rats, they were saying like, oh, the rats were more addicted to sugar than cocaine. Essentially like the rats got hungry. And wanted, like, and we'll go back to sugar because cocaine got them high, but the sugar got them like a bit more fed.
It would actually fuel them.
Fuel them, like that's it. They got more energy from it because they were hungry. But like, listen, there's a lot more people who can give you all of the kind of like reasons as to why this one study isn't actually valid. And as we've mentioned before, when we even talked about studies, the studies that get publicized are the ones that have attention-grabbing headlines, and that's why money is put into them. So, you know, all of this sort of stuff, like there's so much to say about all of this, but it really pisses me off that he's just like, I don't know, like as well, he just was saying like, you know, in these evenings when you're run down and it's cold, you might turn to comfy food and that's the slip. And you're like, mate, life's hard enough. Like there's people out there who are like maybe and after dinner with their cup of tea, they like their snack and you're here and you're like, do you know what I mean?
Again, like, he's performing as one of us. He's mistaking himself for I'm a lifestyle influencer and everyone's kind of just like copying me and I'm human just like the rest of you. It's like, no man, no. You're the king of the castle here. You know, you literally are the king of this empire and your audience are your customers, you know? So like you can't just be acting like the rest of us, you know, like you're like, okay, so you know when you're backstage at Gladiators on the celebrity edition of Gladiators and you're just feeling a bit peckish after fighting off Wolf or whoever is a gladiator these days, or Trojan or whatever the fuck.
Fighting off Wolf, and then
and you're just like, oh, give me that sugar, baby, give me the sugar. Like we all have those days, you know.
You know when you're performing to maybe thousands of people on live television and you're like, no, actually, I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
And I do think, it's, but I think what's interesting is the fact that I didn't even read that in the caption and you were so smart to point that out, where he goes like, comment underneath how you deal with it. I read some of the comments and they're from people that like, actually, like, I know from, you know, being like, dietitians who'd be like body positive or body neutral dietitians, like people who really know what they're talking about, doctors, and they underneath it are like, this is dangerous. What you're doing is wrong. And for me, I'm like, interesting, Joe. You gonna interact with those guys because they're the ones with like, say, the blue ticks beside them, and the ones who have like, I can't remember. Sorry, the terminology for when someone's a doctor or whatever. Like the kind of like what their qualifications are in their names, and I'm like, these are the people that actually. It's interesting. You probably will absolutely bypass and just not engage with them.
Well, I just want to say as well, like, to add to kind of evidence of how unrealistic like a completely sugar-free and fruit-free diet is, just look at that Gladiator's crafty table where,
oh my God,
but think about it, right? Like, I mean, let's say you go in there and you've got a bunch of, like, I'm assuming athletes, people who are, fit and strong, etc., and, are on TV, and they go backstage after a thing, and he said it himself. He's like, there's penguins, Kit Kats, Jaffa Cakes, which was just sounded like a dream. And he's like, there's breakfast bars, energy bars. I'm sure there's a few crumbly Nature's Valley bars in there as well. There always is. And then obviously like fruit, bananas, etc. It sounds like a pretty like epic spread. He said gel packs. I think that's something like, like marathon runners will take. It's just like a gel that's like high calorie, high sugar that just kind of keeps you moving when you're about to, pass out from extreme exercise. And it's like, I dare you to find something on that table that doesn't have sugar in it. Like, what was he expecting? Like a charcuterie board of all meat? Just like here's some lean salmon and some steak and eggs and like I don't like and a load of vegetables.
He's just walking into a butcher's and he's like, fantastic.
It's just a carvery dinner. He's like, is that gravy sugar free, or do you put a little something in there to sweeten it up? It's like, oh, okay, skip the gravy. So yeah, like it's just even he points out like himself that it is highly unrealistic, and then he kind of jumps into the I was
how
also
do we keep going?
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. I just think he's overstating his quote unquote addiction to sugar because he's trying to kind of, appeal to his audience and be like, I'm just like you guys. And then like he's overstating how much of an actual problem it is, because in reality, like, he has like the best access to, all of the,
I would love to know if his doctor has literally turned to him and been like, listen, you're pre-diabetic and we're going to need to look at your sugars. Because actually, like, is there something physically wrong? Like, as in, like, do you know what I mean? If someone was to be like, you're actually, you know what I mean, on the cusp, you know what I mean? And you might need to look at your sugar levels. That's different. But even that, like, kind of none of, like, our business. But what I'm saying is him just coming into being like, I'm a sugar addict is, even though, like, I'm going to say you're smart enough to know that that's not real. Yeah. I think what you're saying is you're really run down, and actually there's probably a lot going on and you just need some sugar. And you don't like that. And actually, this might be a good way. And yeah, and you know what? I just want to jump on that you said about the green room about in the Gladiators. I would say like the Gladiators as well. I don't know, like a lot of them would be like bodybuilders and kind of have lots of different, skill sets as athletes. They're wearing the skimpiest outfits on TV.
Yeah.
Like performing. I would imagine all week they're not eating a lot. Or they're eating a certain amount to stay lean. Yeah. And then probably afterwards, baby girl, let's go to the green room.
Oh, absolutely.
Where I might be able to get away with some stuff for a few, like, you know what I mean? Because if you look at any, following some people who do like bodybuilding kind of like contests, which obviously is very, in the sense, very different because they're, but like at the same time, we know what it's like when people are like, hey, if I want to look sculpted, I'm going to have to do some stuff before I go on, I won't be drinking as much water the day of, you know, all the sort of stuff that you're like, yeah, I'm sure you are aware of how you look on live TV. You know what I mean?
remember reading the book years ago, Evolution, by Joe Manganiello, who played Alcide on True Blood. That's Alcide Herveau on True Blood. He was the werewolf guy. He was married in real life to Sofia Vergara until recently. Like they split up.
Yes, I know him. Yes.
Handsome man. But he had a book on like working out and bodybuilding, and he said,
I know him from Magic Mike.
Well, absolutely. There you go.
If you just said Magic Mike, it would have been grand, babes.
Fun fact, on Magic Mike, he was known on set as real life CGI muscles. That's what they said about his muscles. They said like, you look like you've already had CGI muscles done. But in his book, he said that you would kind of like do that sort of starving, dehydrating thing before you were going to appear shirtless on camera to, minimize as much kind of body fat as possible. But then he said that before filming, it was known for these guys to take like maybe like some like high sugar like fruit juice or something like that right before, because apparently like makes your muscles pop out, it like just like kind of come up to the surface a bit more like temporarily, and it just makes them pop, and it's how you get those
I'm imagining like a sort of inflating sound.
Yes, exactly.
Makes your way through your body.
Exactly. So wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of that kind of action going on at the Gladiators green room, and what I would give to be on a fly on the wall just watching Joe Wicks bounce around the place after eating a fucking sleeve of Jaffa cakes after a month or 11 weeks of not eating sugar.
It must be like a kid coming back from like a birthday party. He must have been like a nightmare on the train home.
Exactly.
Right.
And then just a big headache in the car on the way home, just like, oh my God, what are my audience going to think? But Grace, I will just say as well, like, like at the end of the day, we do have to remember that he is always selling stuff. He is selling stuff to his audience, whether it's
he's selling himself. He is the product. Like that's
he is.
thing,
and guess what? Like he can't do that by balance, because balance don't pay the bills, and
God damn it, Conor. God damn it. Every
in
so often
2025
you come out.
It's 2025. Yeah, so I mean,
I wanted a moment for that in 2025. Balance don't pay the bills, baby.
That's it. It has to be extremes, and in this case, he picked sugar, which is kind of tried and tested, but then adding in this like, I'm also not going to do fruit, and I'm also going to see how long I can take it. It's a marketing stunt. It really is what it is.
Well, okay. So talking about marketing stunts, that brings us on beautifully to our very last part of of the Joe Wicks story. Bringing us up, because by the way, that sugar thing, like that video was May 2025. So this is very recent. This isn't like 10, like we're not talking a long time ago. This is this year. And then, so then after the video of him being like, listen lads, I'm after waking up in an alley covered in Jaffa cakes, he decides to go and make a documentary about protein bars. So protein bars become his next escapade. Now, I watched the documentary on Channel 4. Like, Conor, when I watched this documentary, so it's Joe Wicks basically wanting to talk about all of the unhealthy ingredients that are in. Basically, he wanted to talk about ultra processed food.
Right.
But he wanted to talk about that specifically through protein bars. Now, I find that very interesting that it's specifically through protein bars, because if you're going to talk about ultra processed food, you can actually talk about it anywhere. Like it's anywhere.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he picked protein bars. And I was like, that's really interesting, because protein bars probably have the biggest impact on your business, in the sense of like, if you're going to talk about you're trying to sell like a certain, like, I don't know, you're lean in 15 books, all kind of like certain recipes, then you mightn't like these protein bars in particular.
Well,
now that's just my way of thinking of it.
He's probably been offered a million times like to slap his face on a product, like, and or because that's probably a really good way to make money in that industry. Yeah.
And listen, he has a really big issue with processed food. Essentially what he did, like when I started watching this documentary, I honestly was like, is it 2005?
It feels like...
He's dressed up in it at the beginning, like Walter White.
No.
In Breaking Bad.
But
like,
Grace,
do you know what I mean?
This sounds like a Darren Brown, social experiment. Like if you told me at the end he ripped off his mask and Darren Brown has been Joe Wicks this whole time, like since the pandemic, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's interesting, Yeah.
I mean, here's some of the quotes from the very beginning of the show. Basically, he was like, essentially he said, diet is killing people. This is a killer bar. Eating junk food. What about sugar-free? And he was like, I'm the UK's most popular trainer, like the whole thing, right? And he said, after the US, the UK eats the most processed food in the world. He completely links, by the way, unhealthiness with obesity, right?
Okay.
And who is helping him in this documentary? Well, it is Dr. Chris Van Tulleken, the author of Ultra Processed People, which was a massive book that came out.
Huge right now.
Huge right now. That's huge right now. So essentially what they do
very hot right
in
now.
This, very hot right now. Now, what's funny about this documentary is that there's parts of it that I really like. There's parts of it that I'm like, this is actually a pretty good
Yeah.
idea. What they're trying to show is essentially what a lot of these products do, particularly protein bars, is they want to put as many kind of like ingredients in that they can that like would be kind of like unhealthy for people if they got above a certain level.
Right.
Because what they do is they hit the legal level. So it's like they're basically just being like on the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if you were to eat this, it could lead to cancer. It could lead to this. They're kind of vague about that in the documentary, I find. There's not a lot of like, hey, if you eat this much amount of this ingredient, you like this is the percentage of cancer you could like that you're likely to get at this age. Like none of that is there. Like all of it is pretty much like this can kill you. And I'm like, okay, like it's not that I disagree with you. And I think what you're doing is very interesting in the sense what you're saying is like people can really kind of these companies can move the laws into their own hands. They can make it work for them. And he's like, look, and so basically what he goes out of his way to do is make his own protein bar called the Killer Bar. And he's going to put as many terrible things into it as he possibly can that he thinks will kill people. And he makes the bar.
And is the idea that I'm Joe Wicks, if I make this bar and tell people all the bad stuff that's in it, people will still buy it? Well, so his thing is like he wants the government to act and kind of put in stricter laws about these ultra processed foods. Again, not a bad idea. Yeah,
what
absolutely.
What he does though, I would say a bit of a publicity stunt.
Oh,
he makes 6,000 of these bars.
6,000?
He makes 6,000, Conor.
That's excessive.
And what really annoys me is, fucking mad excessive. And you know what else pisses me off? I don't know if you know this, but there is a climate crisis.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think 6,000 wrapping packets for a fucking bar, not mad on. How much energy did it take to put in to make this bar that you don't even want people to consume? That's a huge amount of waste. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I was like,
that's crazy.
I was actually like, from an environmental standpoint, I was a bit pissed off, let alone like from the fact that he went ahead and did this. Now, in the documentary, what really annoys me is, obviously, Chris Van Teliken, I think, is like quite a well-versed man in this, like in this area, He has had critics of his book. They never showed one. They never showed one person who came in any other way to this sort of like whole idea that ultra-processed food is what's like killing people. Do you know what I mean? And like, because I don't disagree that ultra-processed food, I'm sure is not good for us and like definitely needs to be dealt with in some way. But I'm like, what's really interesting is like they're totally ignoring like, well, okay, well, how do you get other types of food? Like, what about farming? What about overfishing? Like, what are we doing about people who pick the food? Are they being treated well? Like, you're not even looking at food or food process in general to be able to be like, how are we going to make this better? What you're doing is like, we don't like this thing. And I don't know, they just didn't, it was so imbalanced. And I found it then, that's why it felt like a 2005 documentary. And I was like, this is just trying to scare the living shit out of people. He makes a bar anyway, he calls it the Killer Bar. What I found the most interesting part actually wasn't even them making it in the lab and all that sort of stuff. What I found interesting is he went to a marketing kind of executive who works for a lot of like kids cereals and like how to market to children, like all this sort of stuff. And this guy basically was like, okay, here's how I would market this bar. And that was interesting because what he did was then he showed Kellogg's and stuff. He showed Cocoa Pops. And what he showed was how they rebranded it to kind of highlight any sort of benefits in Cocoa Pops and how they market to children and adults at the same time, and this manipulative sort of stuff that they do. And that, I was like, that's interesting. Well, you know what Joe Wicks decides to do? With this marketer, their first idea, the marketer basically said, I would market this to the gym bros. He was like, I'd put a really beefy guy at the front of it. I call it the Killer Bar.
Do you hear that, gym bros? They're coming after you. They don't care about you. They just want your money.
But that's what annoyed me was, because he was like, that's your number one kind of like market for a protein bar. And what really annoyed me was there was no even like introspection as to why that is. Because let's be honest, gym bros, if you're taking it at face value, these are people, and when I say gym bros, I'm even going to go in with the gym girlos as well, right?
Okay.
These are people who are like we're really into health. We're really into fitness. But are they really into health? Because actually, realistically, they're drinking and eating a lot of stuff that they're just like, whatever gives me more energy, whatever makes it better, whatever makes my muscles better, whichever makes them bigger, whatever makes me go for longer. Not particularly health. And actually, that's an interesting question. And how much does Joe Wick go into that? Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That's disappointing.
Not at all. How is it that you're able to make one of the most unhealthiest healthy bar out there, and they know, oh well, gym bros will make this, and you're not like, well then, is there something wrong with our gym culture? Is there something wrong with the way that people want their bodies to look a certain way and they don't care about their health? Like, and I know that's, you're probably like, well, that's not what he was there for. But they do this whole segment of the documentary where Joe is like, should I make these bars in the first place? Like, should I even be doing this? And his wife is like, you're making a bar? Like, there's a bit where I was like, she was like, can we talk about this off camera? And then like he's telling his employees, and his employees are like, oh, this is a great idea. Amazing, boss. And then one guy who's like works in his finance sector was like, I don't know if this is a good idea.
Like,
I don't think we should do this.
They think it's a good idea in order to prove the point. But again, I'm struggling to kind of grasp the point. Is the point, again, I kind of said before, is it like even though I'm telling you this stuff is unhealthy, people will still believe that they should buy it for their health because of his
point was, look at how many awful things I can put into this bar and still legally sell it.
Right. Okay. Got it. Yes. Yeah.
And for that, I'm like, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea to go, actually, there's some levels of like, certain, I'm kind of trying to find the word, like kind of toxic products, but I don't even like to say toxic products. There's certain like ingredients that, I don't know if we should be even allowed to put into foods. Like there's certain ingredients in the States that aren't allowed in Ireland. And that's why like certain food, or the UK, when you come into Europe and stuff, that's why Americans will be like, God, this tastes very different.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, because we just maybe have stricter rules. And he's basically making the point, the rules aren't strict enough, or they can be sort of bent any other way. I don't think these are bad ideas. What I think just annoys me is this is such a wasted opportunity for a guy who has such a big platform. And actually, like, realistically, like, why are people running to protein bars? Like, why, as in, like, are they eating maybe too much protein? Does anyone need protein? A question we've already answered. We're eating a lot more protein than we need. And why is it? And then you're making someone feel bad because like they're eating a protein bar over maybe a chocolate bar, which you told them they can't be having in the first place because they're addicted to sugar.
Well,
like, you know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. Like, I mean, even just from my personal experience, this is purely anecdotal. The majority of protein bars, first of all, a lot of them are kind of, or I've noticed a lot of them are kind of designed to sort of mimic like, oh, this is like your favorite chocolate bar, except it's actually a protein bar. And you're like, okay, you eat it, it tastes kind of funny, but you're like, oh, that kind of felt like I was eating a chocolate bar. But you look at the stuff in the back, there's either as much protein as there is sugar, or there's more sugar than there is protein. And you go, oh, hang on a second. Well, in that case, why don't I just go ahead and eat the typical chocolate bar? Because at least the typical bar it'll scratch that itch of, oh, I had a nice penguin bar or whatever it is. That's the bar that everyone eats these days, the penguin bar. The penguin
bar, like I haven't seen a penguin or eaten a penguin bar in years, and now this has been mentioned so many times in the podcast. It is an incredible bar.
Well, that's why. That's because Joe Wicks ate them all. Apparently, he's just hoarding them in his house. You know. In fact, you know what he should do? He should do a brand tie-in with penguins and have like, you know, their little joke on the back, have like a little Joe Wicks health fact on the back, and be like, hey, like a penguin bar once in a while is okay, kids. You know.
But I think what he did do that I found interesting, because he actually disregarded that marketing expert and put his own face on the bar, which I thought was much better. I was like, at least put your money where your mouth is. And I do think, like, here's the thing about him. That's why I'm not like, oh, this is a terrible person. I don't think he's a terrible person. I don't think anything like that at all. I think he's a person who really, as you said, Conor, I think balance has gone out the window. Yeah. I think balance isn't paying the bills anymore, and balance has gone out the window. Because this ultra processed thing, I don't mind. Like, I think it was really interesting, but I don't trust any documentary that's there to scare the living shit out of me. Because I'm like, do you know what? Why not have a variety of experts? Why not go out and talk to people? Why not go out, while you're also on this, talk to, like, I don't know, someone like an eating disorder expert. Instead, it's just like, we're going to make this bar. This is bad. and look how bad it can be, and you're going to die. And you're like, okay, well, this, I don't know if this works. I hope it does make some changes for the government. I don't know if it has or not. But what I mean is just like, it's all this stuff that everything has to be so severe. And then they go back to the same old tactics of, you look how many fat people there are. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Joe Wicks isn't fat, and apparently he's so addicted to sugar.
I know, he's still miserable, apparently.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Apparently, like, all the people who are mad fit also are having huge problems. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know. And like, that's why I don't know if I have a satisfying ending for this, because I think it's a complicated one. And I don't know. I wanted to point out that this is a guy I've been following for years, and at the beginning it was all like, hey. He calls like broccoli mini trees. He used to call them that. And he'd show how he put like together something from a few recipes, and it would take 15 minutes. And he's like, bish, bash, bosh. And it's not about portions. It's just like eat, because you need to eat, and nutrients. And yeah, look, I love eating ice cream as well. Like, I'm going to have my treat here, and I'm working out a few times a week. And I was like, God, this is great. And now it's like no sugar. And by the way, a protein bar will give you cancer when you're... if you eat one snippet of it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. This is kind of sad. And I think that's what I feel is just a bit sad.
I think you're right. I think it sounds like he's lost his way. And again, he's not a bad person at all. We've covered much worse. He's certainly no liver king, but that marketing portion of the documentary you just mentioned was giving a bit of liver king vibes. But I just think that he is a product of, that internet fame and success, like clearly, like very successful. Like the fact that, like, he's basically a household name. It's definitely in the UK and Ireland. And there's some encouragement or pressure there to keep evolving, keep
growing,
escalating.
The numbers have to keep the numbers have to keep getting bigger, and you can never stop. And
you kind of go like, that sort of goes against the sensible, wholesome, approachable kind of, he's like an everyday bloke, like who was showing people just sensible ways to get fit and, be healthy. And I'm sure the nutrition encouragement was fairly standard, but that was kind of what people were there for. So moving into the more kind of sensational, like that documentary is very like sensational kind of style. I do want to see him. Is he dressed up as like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, like with the hat?
no hat, but like just the like in the yellow, like in a lab.
Oh,
and, like the green, but like the green
like
smoke and everything.
Cook.
Yeah, Conor, a meth cook with the green smoke and everything. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by no
so
fucking
cringe.
Balance.
That's cringe-tastic.
But as Conor, as you said, it's 2025, baby. Balance doesn't pay the bills.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Fad Camp. As always, we want to thank our producer, Darren Lee. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Great ratings and reviews really help more people find the show, and it would mean a lot to us.
Make sure to share the episodes with friends and family or on your social media. Every listen helps.
And we absolutely love hearing from our listeners, so please get in touch with any of your diet stories on fadcamppodcast@gmail.com.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.